Hey guys, it's Deena, your mindset evolutionary here at flynubianqueen.com and Deena Jacobs Rants on YouTube. Um, I am guiding women to freedom from negative conditioning. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Give me a thumbs up as everyone is coming into this talk today. So this is going to be very personal. As many of you know who watch my Mindset Evolutionary um, talks on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Eastern time, you know I like to guide women, Black women in particular, to freedom from negative conditioning by discussing different topics that relate to mental health and spiritual health and well-being. So, my brilliantly beautiful gifted beings, I'm so glad that you guys are here and watching. I want to share a very personal story. As many of you know who watch me, you know that I'm currently in therapy. I also do transcendental meditation, which I haven't been keeping up with as diligently as much as I should be. I'm supposed to do it twice a day, and I can barely get it in 2 to 3 times a week. So I'm going to be better about that starting on the 1st of February. So that's right around the corner. I had a talk with myself, and that's the next thing on the agenda. But I wanted to share with you guys something that I discovered this week in therapy. I was in therapy on Monday, and I hadn't seen my therapist since before Christmas because our schedules were so busy and it was so crazy. And I had to make it a priority to go in and see her. And it was discovered today, this morning. I woke up and I was meditating, doing my transcendental meditation. And it came to me that I'm heartbroken. That I've been dealing with being heartbroken for most of my life. And I'm referring to, I had to take some notes on it so I could share it with you all because this is not easy. But one of the things I'm doing is practicing honesty and vulnerability, which is allowing me to heal. It's going to allow me to heal. Because when you're heartbroken, a lot of times you become very hardened, and you become very tough and very strong. And so, okay, I wrote this text to my brother. Okay, thinking on it, meditating this morning, it came to me that I am heartbroken over so many big and little things. Don't know how or if I will ever recover from it, but I am working on it. My therapist said this is part of my recovery. Yikes. It seems so hopeless. I feel so hopeless. Humans need to give and receive love in order to be healthy. Both my parents demonstrated that they did not love me in different ways. That's what broke me. I have understanding and compassion for them because they were broken. So many of us were broken from many generations ago, and it has become our legacy. So that's kind of something I texted my brother, and he wrote back to me. I said, humans need to give and receive love in order to be healthy. And he said, yes, it is in human nature to do so. And so I cried a lot this morning. It was really hard. It was really difficult to admit those things, because admitting those things takes a certain amount of vulnerability. And so I want you all to know, as my audience, as my brilliantly beautiful gifted beings, my fly Nubian kings and queens out there who join me and listen to me and encourage me and give me the opportunity and the space to share with you what I'm going through and trying to heal myself. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. What I do here is not easy. I want to tell you that anyone that's out there struggling with any kind of emotional, spiritual, mental issues, this is not easy. It's very difficult. I was in my therapist, and it was discovered that I had been grieving for the loss of my father ever since I was a baby. I was born to my mother and my father, but they were not married. And there was something going on between my mom and my dad. My mom said my dad was violent and abusive. And when I was about 2 weeks old, she decided to pick up and leave. So that was the only time I ever knew my father. And then fast forward, my mom met my adopted dad, Charles, who raised me. And he married my mom, I think when I was maybe 2 or 3. And then they filed paperwork for him to adopt me. And I think the adoption may have become final around when I was 5 years old. And I remember my parents coming to me and saying, or my mom basically like, do you want Charles to adopt you? And, I'm like a baby. So I'm like, wait, what? What are you guys talking about? And, of course I loved my dad, Charles. He was amazing. He was such a good father. He loved me like his own. He disciplined me as well as spoiled me. He was a good person. And, I enjoyed having him in my life as a kid. And so I didn't want to lose him, but there was also something inside me that was longing for my biological father. But when they came and asked me, to make a decision, they were like, do you want Charles to be your father? Your father didn't show up. He didn't contest. They gave, they have an amount of time that they give for your father to contest, the adoption. And he didn't show up. He didn't fight it. He didn't show up in court. So the next step was for them to get me to buy into it so that they could put the paperwork through. But as a baby, you don't really understand what all of that means. But I think that's when I felt my first time for my heart to be broken. That I had to make a decision about my father being around or not. And I had to choose quickly whether or not I was going to allow this other man to take his role. It was a lot to process as a baby. So I just choked it down. I became a little bit unruly. I became a little bit, whiny and crying and a little bit like that for a while because my heart was broken and I didn't know how to express it to my family, to my mom, because I was getting this great man who adored me and took care of me as if I was his own and loved my mother as broken as she was. But there was still something inside of me that wanted my daddy. And the fact that I had to choose, that it was put on me to make a choice about that when I was just too young to understand. A part of my heart froze. A opening in my heart was shut. I thought permanently that I would never allow myself. I told myself I would never allow myself to ever want him openly. To ever feel like I would never allow myself to grieve. If he didn't want me, well then by God, I don't want him either. So I decided to completely get rid of my vulnerability. And I became a tough little girl. I became like a little tomboy. I was running around, doing my thing, being all hardcore. As much as you can be hardcore as a little girl. um, because I was building up my strength, my inner strength, so that I never had to be vulnerable again because I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. And then as I went through my life and I got older, I realized that my mother was very, very, very heartbroken. And then she, going through her different things, she broke our family because she never dealt with her heartbreak. And so she broke my heart by not being able to fully and truly love me. And she also broke my heart again by breaking up with my father, Charles, and breaking up our family. And there were so many different little things here and there throughout my life. I won't bore you guys with all the details. But if you can see what I'm saying about heartbreak as a legacy, I knew that there was something wrong, that there was something turned off, that I wasn't able to. Anytime I opened up to let love come out, it just hurt me. It just hurt so much because I didn't want to feel vulnerable. I didn't want to grieve. I always told myself, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My mom is crazy. You know, my father didn't want me, so what? I don't want him either. And then guess what, guys? Back in 2000, my father died. And I never, ever got the chance to meet him. That was a blow. Because I think deep down inside, I always thought at some point he would want to meet me. Now, I can never know the true story about whether or not, you know, he really wanted me, or he and my mom, you know, had a talk, or my dad, you know, Charles might have went to him and been like, look, dude, you dropped the ball. This is my family now. I have no idea how things went down. But it deeply affected me. It deeply affected me. And I just want to let you guys know that if you're dealing with something, heartbreak, abuse, you know, divorce, anything that you might be dealing with out there, I want you to know, first of all, you're not alone. There's so many people going through things that are not exactly the same as what you're going through, but similar to you. And it's important to take care of yourself. That's what I'm doing. And it's not easy. It is not easy. Like, I didn't want to open up these wounds. I didn't want to peel off these scabs. But how else am I going to be healthy? I had to bring back my vulnerability. And I know that can be difficult because we as Black women are told that we have to be strong, that we have to have all this inner strength. But I am here right now demonstrating to you, my brilliantly beautiful, gifted beings, that it is okay for me and you and us as Black women to bring back our vulnerability. A healthy vulnerability. It doesn't mean you go out here and become a victim, or you let people abuse you or take advantage of you. This is not about the outside world right now. I'm speaking directly to the women in our community. There's some healing that needs to be done. And I'm doing it for myself. And I'm allowing you to see me and understand that I am heartbroken. but I'm also on the path to healing. And I want you to see me in this vulnerable state so you can know you are not alone. A lot of us have a legacy of heartbreak in our families. And yes, it does stem back to slavery, among other things. My mother's mother was neglectful to her, and she was raised by her stepfather who abused her sexually. So this is a legacy that's being repeated over and over again. Now, I was not abused by my stepfather. He was a good man. He loved me. But it still was that scenario being repeated. These are generational curses that have to be broken. My grandmother neglected my mother and her needs. She didn't hear my mom's cries for help, and then when my mom cried out to her, it fell on a deaf ear. My grandmother's heart was broken. There were things that happened to her that I don't even know about because she kept them secret. These are things that have to be broken. They have to be healed. We have to address the heartbreak that we're dealing with in our community. Just like we have to deal with other things, other aspects of mental and spiritual health. So how am I going to heal? What is the path to healing? I don't know. I'm in therapy. I tell you, I love being in therapy because I get to go in there and I get to talk to my therapist and I get to stop hiding my heart, my truth, my hurt, my pain, and also my joy. And she helps me to rebuild and reinforce my healthy boundaries. And she reflects back to me the parts of myself that are whole. And that's part of my self-care. And I will quote Audre Lorde again. Audre Lorde said that self-care is not selfish. It's an act of self-preservation. And that is an act of warfare for the Black woman. If we are not healthy, if we are not whole, then what do we have to give to ourselves? What do we have to give to our families? That's one of the reasons why I don't have children right now, because I had to make a decision. I wanted to end the generational curse. It was going to stop with me. I knew that I had to get healthy before I could do anything in building a family. It's just not fair to children. It's not fair to keep handing down a legacy of heartbroken, devastation, generational curses, mental illness, sexual abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, mental abuse. We have to break those curses. And I knew I had to be the change that I want to see. I am the change that I want to be. I am the change that I want to see. Thank you so much for all the hearts and the love. I love you too. And I thank you for being here with me. You have to give love and receive love. And since my parents have all passed away, my grandma, my grandpas, my dads, my mom, a lot of my aunts, there's a reason why those things have happened. I believe the reason those things have happened is so that I can serve a greater purpose. The greater purpose is for me to not blame other people, but to take responsibility for who I am. To take responsibility for me loving me. I deserve to be loved. So do you. Love starts here inside of you. I am taking care of me. I am being vulnerable. I'm learning how to be vulnerable in a way that's healthy. And when I woke up this morning and I was laying in bed and I was crying and I was grieving the loss of my father so many years ago, and the loss of my mother, and the loss of my parents more recently, and the loss of so many little and big things throughout my life that I just pushed aside so that I could be a strong Black woman and just keep going. That left me very, very lonely and isolated inside, because I wouldn't even allow myself to have the love of a man or create and build a family, because I knew that something inside of me was broken. But it's never too late, ladies, to get yourself together. You gotta love you. You gotta take care of yourself. I looked myself in the mirror and I started giving myself affirmations years ago. But I knew there was more work that had to be done. I read a lot of books and all of that, right? This is my second time in my life going to therapy. The first time I went is right after my parents died 10 years ago. So that's so gross. I need tissue. Let me see if I can find some. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is really gross, and they're not even saying anything about it. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to me. This is Deena Jacobs, your mindset evolutionary, guiding you to freedom from negative conditioning, my brilliantly beautiful, gifted beings. Thank you for being here and joining me in this moment and witnessing my healing. My healing. My vulnerability as a woman, as a Black woman. I am the change that I want to be. It starts with you as an individual, and then it spreads outward to your family, your friends, and the bigger community. Black women, we owe it to ourselves to bring back our femininity and our vulnerability. But we can only do that when we have really healthy and secure boundaries. And in order to restore and strengthen our boundaries as individuals and sisters and wives and mothers and friends, we have to make ourselves a priority. And so I just wanted to live and walk it like I talk it, if you're feeling me. I'm just walking it like I talk it right now, you know? And I'm allowing the spirit of love, healing, and forgiveness to lead me. I'm allowing God to just come into me. I believe in God, you know? I have a special relationship with God. We're co-creators. And so this morning when I was feeling this and I was crying and I was allowing myself to grieve and just letting myself know that it is okay for me to grieve for the loss of my innocence. It is okay for me to, because I lost my innocence at that moment. I lost my innocence. It's okay for me to grieve for my mother and the loss of her innocence when she was being abused by her stepfather and neglected by her mother. She told me she didn't know how to love because she didn't have a normal childhood. She actually told me that. And of course, as a child, you can't make sense of these things. That's why I knew I needed to go to therapy, because I was never able to truly, really reconcile what she was telling me. She was loving me the best way she knew how. And maybe my biological father was doing the same thing by staying away. Who knows? Either way around, I knew that I had to be the change that I wanted to see in my family. And so I'm demonstrating that for you now. So again, I am keeping my promise to make my videos shorter than usual, because I usually go for an hour. But I want to thank you, my brilliantly beautiful gifted beings. And again, please continue to give me the hearts, the thumbs up, the likes, the subscribes, and shares. Please go to Deena Jacobs Rants and join me there. I'm going to be creating some affirmations that are specific for Black women and our healing. We have a legacy of heartbreak that goes all the way back to slavery, with our families being torn apart, with the abuse that we endured and suffered. Let's be the change that we want to see, ladies. We got to get right mentally, spiritually, as well as physically. There is nothing to be ashamed of if you're dealing with something. I used to be so angry. I used to be the very definition of an angry Black woman, but behind that anger was hurt. And behind that hurt was disappointment. And then behind and underneath the disappointment was heartbreak. And what was missing, the step that was missing between the disappointment and the heartbreak, was the grieving. We got to allow ourselves to grieve for everything that we have been through in the past, the present, so we can shift. We got to shift it. And the only way we can do that is by grieving in this present moment and letting it out, letting out all of those feelings and allowing yourself to feel the feelings. It's okay. It's just we don't have to go around being strong anymore and carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. We can lay that down and let it go and just take a time and a moment for ourselves to just be. Put yourself first. Take a note from me if you can see that example. I'm putting myself first. And I'm allowing myself some time and space to grieve from all the heartbreak and disappointment that I felt throughout my life. And I'm caring for myself. I'm nurturing myself by going to therapy, by getting into meditation, by eating healthy foods to keep my mind and body clear, and by talking to the Creator with my own personal spiritual practices. And again, I'm not enforcing that you have to have a relationship with God if that's not your thing. But either way around, you got to get in touch with the spirit inside yourself. That's how we heal the community, by healing ourselves first. Put yourselves first, ladies. This is Deena Jacobs. I love you guys so much. I'm not leaving you just yet, so hang in there with me. I want to read a few comments. There's 44, and then I'm going to get out of here. All right, I've been live for 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up within the next 5 minutes by reading some of your comments. Again, I love you. And I love me. And I thank you for being here with me in this moment. Let me see what you have to say. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom and go back up. Dennis Pearson says, we must transcend above thinking only of ourselves and start showing compassion towards each other. Absolutely. I talk about compassion quite a bit, right? The first way we practice compassion is by having compassion with ourselves. So right now I'm having compassion for myself and my own personal story. I'm having empathy with myself. And those of you who are here with me are also showing your empathy and your compassion for me by showing me all the hearts and the thumbs up and with your comments. And again, I love you for that. And I appreciate you. Frankie Taylor says, I put me first. Yes, absolutely, Frankie. Frankie Lavette Taylor says, amen. Frankie Lavette Taylor says, you are such a beautiful young lady and you're speaking truth. Well, thank you. And you're beautiful too, sis. Thank you. See, that is how we love and support each other. That's how we do it. That's how we lift each other up and let each other know that it's okay to demonstrate and show vulnerability. It's okay to grieve. That's how we support each other. Thank you, Frankie. Much love to you. Gigi Ya Dodson says the loss of innocence is devastating, so we learn to cloak ourselves. It's a part of self-preservation. Absolutely. And it is useful in certain moments. But that's why if we overdo it and we don't get help to process and go through the stages of loss and grieving with the help of a professional, and we need professional help. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at our community. We need some professional help. It's not just me. It's a lot of us. Thank you for your comment. That is how we're going to fight this war and win, by taking care of ourselves and getting right. I just bit my tongue just now. Am I speaking too much truth? Rita Matthews Larkin Smith, thank you. May God continue to bless you. Bless you too, Rita. Gigi Ya Dodson says it takes great strength to identify brokenness because we're always in self-denial. Girl, I've been working on myself for over a decade. And let me tell you, it is worth it. And was it hard sometimes? Absolutely. There were times when I was like, what am I even living for? I'm so broken and messed up. Why am I even here? But I kept going. I kept going. And I know that being able to speak about this publicly is a sign. And the support that you all are giving me is a sign that this part of my journey is nearly over. I am being restored to a place of wholeness because I'm allowing myself to grieve and releasing myself from shame. I'm not ashamed to be vulnerable anymore. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable anymore. I'm allowing you to see my heart and my vulnerability and my brokenness. And I thank you. I thank you, and I thank the Creator for being here with me and guiding me through this moment. And I thank you for your kindness and your support. And I want you to know that I'm here for you too. Let's see. Frankie Lavette Taylor. Yes, honey, you're so right. Priscilla X. Lewis says you will heal from this, Queen. I am healing as we speak, Priscilla. Thank you. Bless you. Javon Harris Smith says we have no one. We have to. No one can do this for us. Absolutely. Javon Harris Smith says this needed to be said. Let others know you are not alone. Gigi Yaya Dawson says secrets will keep you sick. Absolutely. Priscilla X. Lewis says teach. I'm going to keep teaching. I'm going to keep sharing. I'm going to keep being vulnerable. And I'm going to keep loving myself and sending out love to my sisters, regardless of anything. I love you. And I want to see us get whole as individuals and as a community. Take care of yourself. Be inspired. Go see a counselor. Join a support group. Read some books. Meditate. Put yourself first. Go get therapy. There's no shame in it. There's no shame in going to get therapy and taking care of yourself and putting old ghosts to rest and breaking those generational curses. Yes, Gigi Yah Dotson says self-care is self-love. Absolutely. And according to Audre Lorde, it is an act of warfare. So we fighting a war while we taking care of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And it's in a much different way than being a strong Black woman and having to march out in the streets and stand up for our men and carry everything on our back. We don't have to do that anymore. I'm taking myself to the spa today because I need some time to relax and breathe and sweat and soak in the tub and let one of those Asian ladies, work on me and get these knots out. Let her lay hands on me. They're really good at it. Anyway, Javon Harris Smith says secrecy destroys the spirit. We have to deal with things face on, look for where it begins in order to begin the healing process. We got to dig out the root, and the root is slavery. But you dig out the root in your own personal life. And once you do that, you'll get to the root of some of the things that have happened in your family, right? But healing yourself in this present moment and being present and allowing yourself to shed the past, to dig out the root of that weed of slavery, that enslavement of mind and spirit. That's what I'm letting go of. Somebody told me somewhere in my spirit that it wasn't okay to grieve, that I had to get back to work, that I had to get focused, that I had to focus. It's okay to grieve, Black people. We've been through a lot. We're going through a lot. It's okay to grieve and let go of stuff and get therapy and heal and take time for ourselves. That's what I'm doing in this moment. And it's okay to let people know you're going through something too. Tell them you need a moment to focus on you. That's okay. Because if my mom would have took a moment to focus on herself and what she had been through with my father and her stepfather and her mother, she would have been better. She would have been better able to show up for me. And then I would have had an example to look to on how to not be broken, on how to grieve, on how to be vulnerable, on how to get over things, on how to love in a way that is healthy. I would have seen her loving herself and taking care of herself and knew that was a good example on how to love and take care of myself. We have to shift the legacy of brokenness. We have to let that go and begin a new legacy of love and for our community. Oh shoot, it's 38 minutes. All right, I'm wrapping this up in 2 minutes, y'all. I can't let this go an hour. I can't let this go an hour, but I just want to let you guys know that I love you so much and I really appreciate you for being here with me. I really do. Gigi Dotson says feel, deal, and heal. Yes, I like that. Feel, deal, and heal. That's pretty cool. Priscilla X Lewis says, we see you, I see you. And she put up the hands. Yes, sister. I see you too. Thank you. There's no acceptance without open-mindedness and understanding. Gigi Yah says. Casey Ball says, your sentiments are so many other sentiments. Hashtag healing. Yes, thank you, Casey. Much love to you. Tanya Tigney Dolman says hi. And let's see, you guys. Let me see if I see some other people who I haven't read yet. Beverly Jeffers says, London in the house. Hey, good to see you from London. Tuning in from Philadelphia. Yes, I'm so glad to see you guys. Good afternoon. Therapy is awesome, says Rondell R.D. Butler. Thank you. It surely is. Elation Smith says, hey, sis, tuning in. That's everything from the top. And Lynn Nahala says, amen, I needed to hear this. Desmond Lovelace says, inspirational love, you for speaking up. Fire, fire. And so going back to Lynn Nahala is the last comment here. She said she needed to hear this. Every time I do a video, I get several brothers and sisters that say that they needed to hear what I was sharing with them. That's why I do it. I am your mindset evolutionary, and I'm guiding Black women and some men to freedom from negative conditioning by living my truth here and sharing with you my journey and my take on things. It's not to say that I'm always right or that I have all the answers, because by God, no, I am learning as I go. But I'm sharing it with you. And you can join me here on Sunday nights at Fly Nubian Queen at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Eastern time, as well as I pop in and out on Fly Nubian Queen to address topics like this when I feel inspired, as well as on Deena Jacobs Rants on YouTube. Please go to Deena Jacobs Rants and subscribe there, because in the future I'm going to be adding some affirmations specific to Black women. And I'm also going to start doing my own videos there too. So thank you all so much. I love you, my brilliantly beautiful, gifted beings. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for witnessing me and being in this space of my vulnerability. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing a moment to grieve with me and have compassion and empathy for what I'm going through. It means so much, and I can feel it. I thank you. Hugs to you. Kisses. I love you guys so much, and I will see you Sunday night. Goodbye.